Hello and greetings. I'm happy to be presenting my next two talks, which will be on the subject of sadness. Yeah, happy sadness. Okay, it's an oxymoron. So basically, there are two different aspects of sadness. There's sadness, the emotion, and sadness, the feeling. Both are related to being sad, but they have very, very different ways of expressing themselves. In this video, I'll be talking about sadness as an emotion. This is not very complicated. Sadness as an emotion simply is a reaction to a situation that makes you sad, teary-eyed. It can be a movie, it could be a death, it could be a loss, it could be hearing something that happened to someone or something that happened to yourself. But it generally is a reaction to something that exists. It makes you sad. Some people cry. Some people have difficulty crying. But it's still sadness. There's a sense of heaviness, a weight that comes over you. You can feel your energy sinking in. It can be said to be going down into the lower chakras, or more accurately, when you're sad, you're just not drawing a lot of life force in. Some people call it chi, some people call it prana, just energy, whatever you want to call it. When you're sad, you sort of don't draw energy in anymore. And therefore you start feeling weak. You start feeling disconnected. It can also be that when one is sad, this may be a little hard to understand, but at the bottom of the first chakra is sort of like a well, and normally the bottom is closed, so that, but one-way closed, not two-way, so that nothing goes out. You don't lose energy, you don't lose life force, but it can always draw in. It's like a one-way diaphragm. When one is sad, sometimes this diaphragm opens and all the energy, the life force that you have, just suddenly flows out of you. When that happens, you become weak, tired, despondent. You must have seen people who are in mourning and they just sit around and they cry and they say, I just don't have the energy to do anything. I don't feel like it. Partly, of course, it's a reaction to the circumstance that occurred. But also it can be this sudden and precipitous loss of energy. They don't have a lot of life force in their body. There's just not much happening. So how do you deal with this? Well, the best way to deal with a sad reaction to a situation, an emotional experience, is to talk about it. A lot of people like to shove it down and say, okay, well, I'll be better soon. But the sadness doesn't go away. Some people I found can be holding sadness for 10, 20, 30 years because something happened that they were never willing to talk about. Consciously, they've forgotten about it, but that energy ball is still there. And when I take a look at their system, I can see, and I say, you know, this is really heavy weight, and I would point out where in their body it is, and ask them, what is it? Well, generally, I can then go and check and go into whatever it is, find out the sadness, get a pretty clear sense of what it's related to, but I prefer to not tell the person and let them go and explore, because if you do it for them, it doesn't really help. Yeah, intellectually it's satisfying, but it doesn't create change. So I would help guide them down into where this energy is. They would feel it, and all of a sudden, they start crying. Usually they have no idea why. See, I don't understand. All of a sudden, I feel so sad. There's nothing sad going on in my life right now. Why do I feel this way? So then guide them down into that energy, and usually, not always, they can connect with the experience and say, okay, now I understand. Now I know why I'm so sad. Sometimes people are really not able to. They say, I have a sense, I can feel it, but I can't put it into words. So in situations like that, I usually tell them what I pick up, and then I ask them to go and check for themselves. See if it feels right, if they want to correct me, put it into their own words, just totally change it, which is perfectly fine, because the object is for them to connect with what their personal experience is, not mine. And usually, if I say something that's wrong, people do not hesitate to correct me, which is wonderful. Because even if I ask them, go down, connect, get a sense, and they say they can't, when I tell them something that's wrong for them, they could say, that's not right, and before you know it, you've helped them to actually connect with what's really going on. Or if it's something that is fairly recent, not a long stored pattern, when you talk about an emotional experience like that, you help release it. And it's very, very important, because an emotional reaction to a circumstance can be traumatic, but when you talk about it, you let yourself cry, you let yourself share whatever you personally experience, how you relate to that on a personal level. It helps release it, because basically there are two things that happen. You either release it or you store it. And storing it is not good, because sadness stored over a long period becomes a feeling. And I'll go into that the next video. So I hope this has been of interest, and until the next time, bye.